But with all due respect, Madam Vice Chair, when you say that the President of the United States has been bribed,
I said potential.
that's pretty strong. When you say that the Director of the Office of Management and Budget is corrupt, that's pretty strong. And I think if you're going to say someone has been bribed or someone is corrupt, you ought to be specific.
Well, thank you very much. Look, I think that President Trump's decision to accept this foreign plane is really an outrageous bribe. Under no circumstances should our taxpayers be on the hook for this massive cost to modify and use a foreign plane as Air Force One. The funding that Congress appropriates in this bill should take care of our service members and provide them with cutting-edge capabilities, not spent unnecessarily to retrofit a royal plane. This is massively wasteful, and actually the next generation Air Force One is already in the pipeline. And I also, by the way, think it is a huge security vulnerability on this plane. This amendment that the Senator's office offers would prevent the Department of Defense from wasting any more precious taxpayer resources on a truly corrupt and, I believe, wasteful endeavor. So I hope my colleagues vote yes.
Senator Kennedy.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't really have a dog in this hunt. I think, like Senator McConnell, we ought to be driven by the numbers. And in order to be driven by the numbers, you've got to have the numbers first. But I've sat here this morning, and I appreciate the bipartisan words. But with all due respect, Madam Vice Chair, when you say that the President of the United States has been bribed,
I said potential.
that's pretty strong. When you say that the Director of the Office of Management and Budget is corrupt, that's pretty strong. And I think if you're going to say someone has been bribed or someone is corrupt, you ought to be specific. And I notice you haven't been. And I don't think this is, I've listened to a lot of pretty words about bipartisanship, but then we get personal. I don't think it's productive. It's up to you. This is America. You can say and believe what you want. But if you're going to say somebody's been bribed, you need to say specifically by whom, for what. If you say Russ vote is corrupt, I want to know what that means, with all due respect.
Senator Merkley.
All right, folks. I just watched a clip from the Senate debate, and wow, this is exactly the kind of Washington drama that shows how divided our politics has become. Before we dive in, if you're new here, welcome to Straight Talk Politics, the channel where we break down what's really happening in Washington without the media spin. If you believe in common sense, transparency, and putting America first, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this video, and drop a comment below. I read your comments and I want to hear what you think about this story. Now let's talk about what just happened. So in this clip we have Senator Patty Murray going after a proposal involving a Boeing jet connected to the Qatari royal family that could temporarily serve as Air Force One. According to Murray, this situation is, and I'm quoting her here, an outrageous bribe. She argues that American taxpayers should not be paying massive amounts of money to retrofit a foreign-owned plane so it can be used by the President of the United States. Now, I understand the concern about taxpayer money. Conservatives have been saying for decades that Washington wastes billions of dollars on things the American people never asked for. If modifying a plane really costs a fortune, that's something we absolutely should examine carefully. But here's where things start getting a little political. Murray goes even further and raises national security concerns, saying modifying a foreign aircraft could introduce vulnerabilities. She also points out that the next generation Air Force One is already being developed and argues that upgrading another plane in the meantime is unnecessary. But then the conversation takes an interesting turn when Senator John Kennedy responds. And honestly, Kennedy's response is exactly the kind of level-headed approach we need more of in Washington. Instead of jumping to conclusions, he basically says, hold on a minute. We don't actually know the real cost yet. We shouldn't be making decisions based on speculation or headlines. Let's see the numbers first. That's just basic logic. Kennedy also pushed back on Murray's claim that this situation amounts to bribery or corruption. And that's a serious accusation. If you're going to accuse someone of taking a bribe, you better have the receipts. Who took the bribe? Who offered it? How did it happen? Where's the evidence? You can't just throw words like corruption around in a Senate hearing and expect everyone to accept it as fact. That kind of rhetoric is exactly why Americans have lost trust in Washington. And this is where I want to give my perspective as someone who believes strongly in America First policies and responsible government. If there are real security concerns about modifying a foreign aircraft, then yes, that should absolutely be investigated. National security is not something you play games with. But at the same time, we also shouldn't pretend that every proposal we disagree with is some kind of international bribery scandal. Too often in Washington today, everything turns into political theater. Instead of calmly looking at the facts, the cost, the timeline, the security implications, politicians jump straight to the most dramatic accusation possible. And that's exactly what we saw here. Another thing to remember is that the Next Generation Air Force One program has already faced delays and massive cost overruns for years. That program is being developed by Boeing, and taxpayers have already poured billions into it. So the real question isn't just about this Qatari jet. The real question is, why does it take so long and cost so much for the United States government to build something as important as the presidential aircraft? That's the conversation we should be having. Government programs constantly run over budget, projects take decades longer than planned, and then politicians act surprised when temporary solutions start getting discussed. But again, the key point Senator Kennedy raised is this: let's see the numbers first. If the retrofit costs are outrageous, then Congress should absolutely block it. If the security risks are real, it shouldn't move forward. But if this is simply a temporary logistical solution while the new Air Force One is being completed, then lawmakers should at least examine it honestly before labeling it corruption. Because at the end of the day, Americans deserve facts, not political slogans. And that's exactly what we try to do here on Straight Talk Politics. We look at what's actually being said, we break it down, and we give you the context that the mainstream media often leaves out. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think Senator Murray is right that this situation is suspicious and risky? Or do you agree with Senator Kennedy that lawmakers should wait for real cost numbers before making accusations? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want more straight talk about what's really happening in Washington, make sure you subscribe to Straight Talk Politics, like this video, and share it with someone who wants the truth without the spin. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.